thank you for everyone that's here. Pray for each home that's represented here on tonight. Father, we just love you so much. And we pray, Father God, that as we study your holy divine word, that our minds and our hearts are open. We just pray, Father, that you would open us up to know the things that you would have for us to know from your word. Be with us tonight, Father God. We love you so much. And we just thank you so much for loving us. In the name of Jesus, we pray we have these and all blessings. Amen. Amen. Excuse me. That's a tip in my throat. Don't worry. All right. I wasn't, Brother Young was here last week. I think Brother Harris, he's probably on his way. She told me that y'all, we were probably somewhere around Acts 21 and, oh, there he is right there. All right. Right on time. Right on time. You can just step right on into it.
It ain't snoring out there, is it?
You started on time.
All right, let's rock and roll. Acts 21. Is that where y'all at? Yeah, Acts 21. All right, good. All right. So y'all, first I want y'all to discuss racism. What is the definition of racism? Anybody? I'm still listening.
Racism?
Yeah, racism.
People don't like the other race.
Okay. All right, but what else? What is a definition of racism? Racist, okay, but what else?
Discrimination.
Well, that's a different word. I can discriminate and not be racist. Sounds to me like discrimination would be a product would be a response to racism, wouldn't it? So I would discriminate because possibly racism. But what makes racism what racism is?
The minds of people.
The minds of people. Huh?
People beliefs.
People beliefs. And so what is the crux of racism? People believe, but what is it saying? If it's racism, so if it's racism, what is it saying? What is the pinnacle, the crux of it? What is it? I mean,
it's the belief that there's a difference between the races.
it's a belief that one race is superior than the other. Isn't that right? So it would be one race is superior, and then there is an inferior. Turn me down a little bit. There's an inferior. So if one is superior, then that means somebody has to be inferior. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, with that being that thought on the mind, all right. So. Did we have racism in the Bible? Did we?
Whatever.
Did we have racism in the Bible?
Yeah.
We did. All right. So. Ooh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna get real good. All right. So we said racism, but it's in the Bible. So, and this, y'all know I'm gonna push you to think. So if we're saying racism is in the Bible, so what we're saying is, we're saying that there was one race that was superior to another race. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying?
Yeah.
Huh?
There's a belief that they think they're better.
There's a belief that they think they're better. All right. And then so my question, so if we bring it forward, racism that we look at is one race is different than the other. So we would say that in our world, racism centered around the European white, who was superior, then was a superior race than black, Hispanic, or anybody else. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're different races.
Right.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the question then, if we say that there was racism in the Bible, who was the racism? What was the racist?
Well, Romans and the Jews.
Romans. Jews and Samaritans, but were they different race?
No, we were there. Jews and Gentiles.
Jews and Gentiles. Okay, so that brings me to another question then. If there was Jews and Gentiles, when do Jews first show up in the Bible? When does Jews? When do you first? When do you even see the term? When does the term Jew even become relevant in the Bible?
When they accept God as being their God.
With who?
The Abraham descendants.
All right, so let's walk in it. All right, see, I like this discussion. Don't be scared, y'all. Just let's dialogue. Let's talk. All right, so Abraham's descendants. So in Genesis, I think it's somewhere between Genesis and Revelation. In Genesis, Abraham was told to go for a walk. Is that right? All right, and then Abraham is told, Abraham, like you said, God was defining a particular people to be his people. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But what they call Jews. There was Hebrews. Is that right? There was an Abraham seed. You with me? Okay, so we still don't see the term Jews show up here, do we? We don't see the term Jews show up. All right, so let's keep walking. So you have Abraham. All right, Abraham had two sons. All right, Abraham had a son by the name of Ishmael, and he had a son by the name of what? Isaac. Isaac would be the son of promise. Ishmael would be the other son. All right. So the promise and the lineage and the identification of being God's children rest in Isaac. But yet yet Ishmael still exists. Is that right? So when we start talking about Gentiles, a Gentile, all right, you're talking about that person that is outside of the chosen one of God. Am I making sense? All right? Okay? Let's keep walking. So you have Abraham, then you have Isaac, and then you have Isaac had what? I thought it was good. Isaac had two twins, didn't he? He had some twins. Abraham had what Isaac had Jacob and Esau. All right, which one would the lineage of God's chosen go in? Jacob. But that does not mean that Esau don't still exist. Is that right? All right. So Esau still exists. All right. But Esau goes off, and Esau goes over to the Ishmaelites. Get time, go study that. You'll find that Esau goes and he's over in that section of the Ishmaelites. All right. He even married outside of the family. That's why he had issues. Y'all with me? Okay. But then so you still seeing this group of, so you start beginning to see this group of people that are what? Not a part of God's chosen. Y'all with me? All right? But then you have this other group that's still a part of God's what? Chosen. That's still going through. I think my battery must be loud enough. But still going. So then you have so then Jacob, which would soon be called what? Israel. All right, which will be Israel, and which would have 12 sons. Is that right? All right, and he would have 12 sons, and watch. If you notice, of the 12 sons, all right, they still all still part of the chosen children. Because it would be the 12, it will be the 12 sons, it will be the 12 tribes, all right, that will go and possess the land of Canaan. Am I making sense, y'all? Y'all with me? Are we all on the same page? All right, so they're still a part of the chosen one. All right, now, has the race changed? Has the race changed?
Basically,
The race hadn't changed, has it? Because they still came from what? The same family.
yeah.
All right, but you go, you still,
Abraham.
you still,
Abraham, right?
you're still all together. All right. So this issue that we find when we start dealing with Jews and Gentiles, all right, is it a race issue? Y'all with me?
Yes.
Yeah, it gets heavy, don't it, y'all?
When we start really digging down in there, yes, sir.
Was it an issue?
Yeah, was it a race issue?
Yeah.
How? We all the same race.
But, yeah, we're the same race. But they started, the Jews didn't like it.
We're gonna come to that in a minute. Because we're gonna find out really why the Jews really had a major problem. All right? Okay, so when does the term Jew come up, y'all? Y'all want me to help you?
Yes.
Okay, I will. Thank y'all. All right, so the term Jew comes up after Judah, all right, returns from Babylonian captivity. Okay? Because look what happens, y'all. Here it is. So y'all remember, okay, so let's keep walking with that so we can get to make it real plain for us. So we get the children of Israel, all right, they all come out of Egypt, right? They all go and they possess the land. Does that make sense? They all take different parts. All right? Then you go through the prophets and all of a sudden now you go through the judges and now they want a king. Make sense? All right? So they get king who? Saul. All right? It's still scattered, right? Then you get king who? David. All right? But remember that you had a portion of the children of Israel in Judah. All right? Y'all with me in Jerusalem, which would be considered more Judah. And then you had the other one, which would be considered Israel. Y'all remember? I remember we talked about that. He was that David was anointed 3 times. He was anointed at his father's house. Then he was anointed and received by Judah, Judah, and then he was anointed later to be accepted by the other tribes of Israel. That makes sense? So then he became king over them all. Y'all with me? All right. Y'all all good. We all good, right? You're not good? All right, what you lost, old man? All right, I'll help you. We'll bring it up to speed. All right, so we're going to go again. All right, so when David was anointed, he was anointed at his father's house, Jesse, that he was going to be king.
Right.
Then when David was first assuming this kingship, he assumed the kingship only of the 2 tribes, Benjamin and Judah.
Yes.
All right? The other 10 tribes didn't receive him. All right? All right, because they went with Ahab and those guys. With me? All right? But then eventually, then they would come and they would bow down to David, and David would be anointed as their king. So at that point, David becomes king over all of Israel. You with me? See, a lot of times people think that David just became king of all of Israel at one particular time. That ain't the way it happened. Y'all with me? Now watch this. This is where we coming, y'all. All right. So then David dies. then who assumes after David?
Solomon.
Solomon. All right? And Solomon was good as long as he followed after God. Is that right? But then Solomon began to do what, y'all? Sin, but he began to, what was his main sin? He began to have his heart turned by the wives that served other gods. Y'all with me? And then because he had his heart turned, then God separated the kingdom. He said, the only reason I'm not going to take the kingdom away from the complete kingdom away from you is because of my promise to your father David. Y'all with me? All right. So then at this point, you have Judah and you have Israel. You have the 10 tribes in the north, all right, and you have the 2 tribes in the south, all right, which would be Judah and Jerusalem. Y'all with me? Judah and Benjamin. And the other 10 would be north. Y'all with me? All right, and so what ends up happening is, y'all know the story. When you get time to study, the 10 tribes of the north became very wicked. Those kings was horrible. They followed after their own gods and did their own thing. All right? The 2 tribes of Judah and Benjamin, the 2 tribes of Judah, tried to do what God says do, but at the same time they had some issues. And because of their sin, then God allowed the Chaldeans, which would be the Babylonians, to come and take over them. Now remember? Take them into captivity. All right? So they go into Babylonian captivity for 70 years. Y'all with me? Everybody on the same page. All right, 70 years. All right, so they go in, and then you have Daniel, and you have Daniel, you have the 3 Hebrew boys. Okay, all right, and then you have Esther becomes popular, Mordecai. All that occurs away from Judah. All that occurs in Persia. Okay? Y'all with me? Okay. Now, when you get to the book of Ezra, then when you get to the book of Ezra, then the 70 years is over. All right? And they return, and the king, all right, of Persia, he answers the request, and he allows the remnant to return. All right? Return to Judah. Y'all with me? They return to Judah. And when they return to Judah, now, all of a sudden, you have them coming back to rebuild the temple. All right? Then you come to Nehemiah, and Nehemiah is trying to rebuild the wall. Y'all with me? And then the children of Israel, the other descendants who did not get carried off into Babylonian captivity, that's Israel, y'all with me, the other 10 tribes of the north came down to assist in the building. Y'all with me? And they were not allowed to assist. Y'all with me? And so we have at this time, we have 2 things that occurs. All right? The Jews, the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, which makes up Judah, all right, begins to be known as Jews, as to be distinctive from the other 10 tribes, because the other 10 tribes were so wicked, and they had intermingled and intermarried with the other people, which God told them not to. You with me? Y'all good? So they became known as Jews. Also at this point, the other group, here's where you get the Samaritans show up. Because if I cannot be a part of the original, what we call the children of Israel, the chosen ones, y'all not going to let me do this anymore because we have intermarried and done other things, then they'll be known as Samaritans, which also is called mongrels. Y'all with me? All right? So that's when the term, that's when the word, that's when you first, Jeremiah 16:16, Jeremiah 6:16 is when you first see the term Jews in the Bible. Yeah, Jeremiah. All right? So we see what's going on? Y'all, we all on the same page. Y'all kind of see how that whole walk. All right? So now when we come to, so now let's fast forward. Let's fast forward. Over time, the term Jew changes from the original. Well, how did it change? It shifted from a distinction between the actual how can I say this? The actual ones that were of Abraham's seed to more of part Abraham's seed and part those who would follow Judaism. Because, watch this, y'all, because someone that was not a part of Abraham's seed could become a Jew. The Bible will call them proselytes. You were not born a Jew, but what you chose to do is you chose to come and obey you see them try to tie, oh, this is what gets good, y'all. They try to tie the Judaism, the Jew mindset. All right? Now they try to make the Jew back to the original lineage. Because they say it's men of what? Israel. And have I lost anybody? Men of Israel. All right? What did we say? All right? When you go all the way back, the term Jew goes all the way back to where? All the way back to the original tribe. You with me? Okay? Read. Come on, watch this.
Crying out, men of Israel, help.
Men of Israel, help.
Who is the man who teaches all men everywhere against the people?
Against the people, read.
The law.
The law.
In this place.
Now watch. Y'all get this. The law and this place. Stop. Who was the law given to? Who was the law given to? Israel. The law was, see, a lot of times we quick to say the law was given to the Jews because we don't understand. Because we sometimes mix those together. Yeah. Which, watch, the original, yes, it mixed but it's only tied to how many tribes? Two. Am I making sense? Only tied to two. But was the law only given to two? No. The law was given to how many? 12. The law was given to 12. 10 didn't care for it when the kingdom was split. 2 stayed with it when they stayed with it. All right. And then when the 2 acted up, they was carried off to Babylonian captivity. Came back. Y'all with me? Came back, and then what happened? God was with what? The 2. Y'all look at me like I'm strange or something. What lineage did Jesus come through? Judah. Okay? The tribe of Benjamin. Does that make sense? Yeah. Am I making y'all look at me? Somebody say, why you keep yelling at us? I'm sorry. Okay, but I want us to understand, because it's interesting when you don't really dissect this thing, and what you have here is you have certain Jews that like to use the law and tie it to heritage when it's convenient for them. Y'all see that? All right. The whole issue here is, so he stirs up the people. He stirs up who? The Bible says it. Just read the Bible. Israel, you men of Israel. All right. And then watch what he says. Go ahead, Eddie. What did he say? In this place, go back a little bit, sort of, but just a little bit.
This is the man who teaches all men everywhere against the people, the law.
Against the people. So look, against our people, against our law. Come on.
In this place.
And this place. Yeah. Oh, that's heavy there. Huh? You see that? All right, so what's important about this place? What are they? The temple. What was the significance of the temple? Come on, you're right there.
Paul brought a Gentile into the temple.
Oh, we ain't there yet.
Okay.
All right, what's the significance of that thing, the temple? Holy place. Yeah. There you go, God. And look, And it's the holy place. Only Jews, only the direct lineage should be in the holy place unless you have followed what it takes to become a part of the direct lineage. You see that? All right? And so now you done talked about, they done put it that Paul is against their law, against their heritage, and against their sacred place. And stirred up the folks. And they mad because, hey, you done crossed the line. And half of them had no idea at all what was going on. They just mad because they heard something. And they have heard it. Make sense? Watch this. Come on, read.
And furthermore,
He
he also brought Greeks into
and I dare this joker to bring some Gentiles in the church. Furthermore, he done brought these folks up in here. Read what the Bible says.
and has defiled this holy place.
And defiled this holy. They ain't supposed to be in here. Because this place is holy. And watch this. What makes it holy? What makes it holy, y'all? What makes it holy? Ain't nothing about that place makes it holy. Because Jesus done already died and done rose again. The curtain has been rent from top to bottom. So what makes it holy? It's holy because traditionally it was holy for them. Am I missing it?
Right there.
It's right there? All right, come on, read.
For they had previously seen Trophimus,
Uh-huh.
the Ephesian, with him in the city.
All right, now look, see, here it is, y'all. Here it is. Y'all got it. I hope y'all caught this. They wasn't with Paul in the temple. They had seen these Greeks with Paul in the city. So they assumed, they assumed that they was in there with Paul. Because they had previously seen him with them. So if they seen him with him, evidently, they brought him. All right, read, watch this.
They supposed that Paul had brought to the temple.
See there, I told y'all, I didn't make up nothing. They suppose that, see, assuming something. Read.
And all the city was disturbed.
And all the city was disturbed. Come on, read.
And the people ran together.
Come on.
Seized Paul.
Grab Paul.
And dragged him out of the temple.
Drag him out of the temple. Come on.
And immediately the doors were shut.
We getting you up out of here.
Yeah.
And they closed the doors. But did y'all notice it wasn't because of race? It was because of religious differences. Has anybody ever caught that? It was because of the religious difference. Because Paul, because they knew Paul taught the truth, then they assumed they had already made their minds what things were supposed to be. And they drug him out, closed the doors and all that stuff behind the fact that Paul taught something different.
different than the Moses. They thinking he's against the law. He's against the Mosaic law, against our people, against the temple. And by God, he has brought in somebody that's not a Jew, that is not a Jew, not of the race in him. But truth be told, if you really want to boil it down, I guarantee you some of them was not even the part of what was truly considered a Jew. When you go to the lineage, because the term Jew was tied to Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Judah. What you would ask. But whenever you want to talk about the heritage of God's family, it had to do with Judah, Benjamin, Dan, Ezekiel, Joseph. Huh? Am I making sense? But only two were considered, when you really look at the true definition of Jew, only two was considered a Jew. We good? Yes, sir.
When those two kingdoms split up, and when I'm talking about that time of Jeroboam and Rehoboam.
Yes, sir.
And that's the northern kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Right. But they're at that time now they're still, I guess, think of themselves as Israelites, and they're still.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they go out to captivity, and then the southern go in captivity, how much longer are we talking about that? I'm getting ready to look back, but this is hundreds and hundreds of years later.
Yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds of years later. Let me give you a frame. It was 70 years. They went into Babylonian captivity 70 years, right? All right. Before Nehemiah began to write about building the wall back, there was another 100 years between the time of the first ones to come back from Babylonian captivity. You with me? So we're looking at before even Nehemiah shows up. Nehemiah, you're looking at about 170 years before they went into Babylonian captivity. You with me? All right. And now we look forward to now where we're at now. In Acts 21. Oh, we are so far away from that half of them don't even know what they are.
But those Israelites, or the men of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
they're in Judah's territory, right? Now, those other 10 tribes, have they reconciled that, or are they still like Samaritans?
No, they're still like Samaritans. Some of them still like Samaritans. Some because if you remember, whenever it came to a point to where when Nehemiah came back and they wanted to come back and they wanted to build the wall, they wanted to worship there, and Nehemiah wouldn't allow them to. You remember, they went and they worshiped on Mount Gerizim. All right, that's why they went to Mount Gerizim. And the other two tribes of Judah, they stayed and worshiped at Mount Zion. Y'all remember that? All right. And so that's why there's so much teaching here. So that's why whenever Jesus came through, as Jesus says, I must go through where? Samaria. And that's where he meets the woman at the well in Samaria. because he had to go through Samaria to deal with that issue. Because you remember the conversation she says, you people say that we should worship on this mountain. But my people say, because they were used to worshiping on Mount Gerizim. Now, let's keep talking. Boy, there's so much teaching here. Keep talking. So you got the tribe of Judah that is here. Because they never, you notice, they didn't come back together. Y'all, yeah. They come back together. All right? All right, they pretty much stayed separate. Okay? Because remember, this group had intermarried. This tribe has intermarried and assimilated into the culture that they was already in. And so this group would not have no parts with them anymore. Y'all, does that make sense? All right, so then you have, so that's why Jesus says, it's imperative that I go through here, because when they worship, when they worshiped on Mount Gerizim, all right, they only had the Pentateuch to get their understanding, which is just the first 5 books of the Bible. All they had was that. So, but because they had that and God wasn't with them, where are your prophets and all of those people? Anybody know? So the prophets, and they're getting their understanding through where? Through Jerusalem. All right? And so when they was at Mount Gerizim, they tried to do like what was done in Mount Zion, but they could only do so much because they was limited on knowledge. Did I lose anybody? All right? Well, I'll teach a whole class on it, because I'm gonna have to go into that in a lot more detail. So, but I wanted us to understand, whenever you start dealing with this term Jew and this term Gentile, all right, let's really understand where the term Jew came from. The original term Jew came from the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin that was in Judah. Y'all with me? That's where it was. Okay? But now, so look at, and this what makes the Great Commission so sweet, and the process of it. That's what makes the Great Commission so sweet, and the whole process of it. When Jesus told them in Acts chapter 1, and about verse number 8, I think it is, he says, you will be witnesses both in Jerusalem, is after the Spirit has come upon you. You will be witnesses both in Jerusalem and in Judea and in Samaria and what? Uttermost parts of the world. Is that right? Look at what he did. Look how he just did that. First, I got to get Jerusalem right. I got to get those right. All right? I got to get everybody. I got to get all those who think that they are all of that because they are of the lineage of of Abraham, and they've kept all the laws and all that, and they are pure. Does that make sense? And then I got to come and get who? Judea, the region. Then I got to go get who? Samaritans. Half-breed cousins. All right? And then I will go get uttermost parts of the world, which will be who? Gentiles. But watch this. Gentiles who was a part of the very first beginning. Y'all look at me like I'm real strange right about now. Like, what? What? Yes, he chose. Yes, God chose a chosen people with Abraham, right? But there were people before that, wasn't they? Because in Genesis chapter 11, there was called the Tower of Babel. Well, all the people spoke the same thing. And they was all together. And God came down, confounded the languages, and scattered the people. But he only chose what? Abraham as his people. Boy, y'all, this is some. Maybe I'm by myself getting excited about how all this works. Yeah. All right, but God chose Abraham's seed to be his chosen people to do what, y'all? To carry the seed promise to eventually do what? Bring everybody back together. Anybody ever thought about that? Yeah. Anybody ever thought about what God did? I scattered you. Then I chose a group that would have one mission. One mission. Carry my son. And then one mission. Once you carry my son, go get all those who were with me at the beginning. Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody? Anybody confused? We all good? All right? I knew it was going to be heavy. I knew it was going to be heavy. All right? But I want us to start whenever we start looking at things and start looking at terms. Because it was intriguing to me to go and say, okay, where does this term Jew even come from? Because I started looking, I saw like, man, let me follow the pattern. I mean, all I knew, children of Israel. All right, children of Israel. Okay, but why did the word Jew have to come in? What happened? Why all of a sudden? Why was there a transition? And then I said, oh, now it makes sense to me. Now it makes sense to me because of how the transition worked. And then it's ironic to me how God had this way of just clearing it all the way up, all right? When he came back in Acts 11:26 and said they was first called Christians, they was called Christians first where? At Antioch. So now that I have Jew, now watch y'all. Now that I have the pure Jew, all right, and I have those who have been made a Jew, all right, and now that I have the Samaritans, all right, which was my half-breed, which were those who started out, but all of a sudden they married outside, all right, and then I have the ones that are the Gentiles, the people that was a part of my creation, but were not a part of my chosen ones, all in the same place now. And because I have them all in the same place now I gotta make sure there's no issue. And I gotta give them a name that all of us can be good with. Christian. Christ-like. Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody? We good? We good? Interesting dialogue, huh?
Yes, sir.
Interesting dialogue. When you get time, so in your studies, and I'm still going through, because I may miss some, because it's some stuff I'll be like, oh my God. But in your studies, one of the things that was interesting to me, that as I study is understanding First Chronicles and Second Chronicles. and what kings it ties to. Because if you're not careful, you'll be like, what? All right, because First Chronicles and Second Chronicles is tied to either tied to First Kings, and then you got one that's tied to Second Kings. All right, and then the Chronicles, First and Second Chronicles, only talks about the good things that was under the kingships. It talks about Israel. It doesn't talk about the wickedness of the 10 tribes of the north. It talks about the good things of the 10 tribes of the north. All right. So you have to. So when you're studying those things, go and put those two together. So it's easy. So when you study them, put them together so you can get a good understanding, so you don't get lost. Because if you're not careful, you'll be reading through one of them, and you will be thinking that you're talking about a particular area, either the north or the south. And if you're not careful, you're reading about the wrong. You're thinking of the wrong thing. They talking about the north, and you're thinking they're talking about the south. Okay, so go so categorize those in the right place. Okay, and as you categorize those in the right place, you can do a real good walk of the study of how we got to where we are and how we get to where we are. Otherwise, you'll still be a little lost. All right, y'all good? All right. Ooh, I'm right on time. Right on time. So go look at it, and we'll have a good time. And if you have questions, bring them back. Let's dialogue and let's work through these things, because I wanted to look at that verses, because I think, to me, y'all, Acts 21 and some of these things, if you don't really understand the real issue behind the problem, all you see is an occasion. That's all you see is, okay, they grabbed him. They grabbed Paul because Paul brought into the temple. Oh, that's all fine and dandy, but what's the relevance of it? Why they mad? Why they mad, bro? You know what I mean? That's what you want. Why they really mad? All right, because you really want to know why they real upset. All right, because once you find out why they really upset, then it makes a lot of sense. Y'all remember we was talking about in Ephesus? Some of them was upset and mad, and they didn't even know why. They just showed up for a fight because everybody else was yelling. They showed up and started yelling because everybody else was yelling about Diana. Yeah. Don't even know why they were yelling. They're just yelling. Okay? So that's why I wanted to start go dig and dive and separate that stuff, so then you get a real good understanding about what is really going on. And if you don't, and last thing I'm gonna say this, and we gotta stop. If you're not careful with dealing with this in the Bible, then you will have people who use the Bible to justify racism. People would justify racism, just like they tried to use the Bible to justify slavery. Okay? That's why we got to know and understand the whole essence, so you can lay that foolishness to bed. You can lay that to bed, because that's it in a minute. God chose a group of people to be racist. And that's why we racist, because we follow the Bible, because God chose a group of people to be racist. And that is so far from the truth. But if you don't understand the Bible, you'll fall into that foolishness and say, well, Peter was racist. See what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't really understand. All right? It wasn't about Peter was caught up with the fact of the whole religious principle. It's a religious principle. He has some racist behaviors because he was all